Welcome to another episode of the Southern Boating Podcast. I'm Ian Sneed.
I'm James Anderson.
And today we have a great episode ready for you. We're going to be covering two boats and a destination. So we'll be covering Grady-White's new Freedom 415. We're going to be covering the Exumas, right?
A different way of seeing the Exumas, yes.
Different way of seeing the Exumas. And then we're going to finish up with the Sirena 78.
Yes.
Which I'm sure, I was going to say, which I'm sure James is very excited to talk about because,
I like Sirena. I think we've talked about him a couple of times now on our podcast. It's just everybody knows by now. There's something about Sirena that gets me.
Yeah.
I mean, just like Michelle's got her faves, I've got my faves.
Yeah.
And
no, I get it.
eventually you'll have your faves.
Well, I mean, I have my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just don't talk about them?
I don't talk about them.
Okay.
That's fair. I don't mind talking about them. I just don't.
We just haven't gotten there yet.
Exactly.
All right. So you want to start with first. Let's talk about the Grady-White Freedom 415.
Right. So one thing that I like about this, especially the intro in this article, because this is in our April issue, our Bahamas issue. So the intro talks about how the Grady-White 415 came to be, because, it references that they were going to launch this or release this vessel right before the pandemic hit, right?
Correct.
And
it was right as the pandemic was really coming on.
Right. So, that led to a lot of struggling times for a lot of people. But what Grady-White was able to do was find a silver lining there and say, well, let's, if we have extra time, let's sit down and go through every inch again and see if there's anything that we can, touch up, retool.
Yeah. So I think really the best way to put it is just like everybody in the beginning of the pandemic, we had a little bit of a panic issue, not knowing what the unknown is and what it's going to do to the economy. But Grady-White decided to, instead of putting it undercover and releasing it later and just, putting a hold button on it, the engineers went back and took a second look at the model and made some changes to this model, kind of made sure that it was, a new boat,
right?
Necessarily, because there are other boats in the Freedom lineup, but this was going to be their biggest boat in the Freedom lineup at the time. And they really kind of went back, took a look at it, and made some refinements that are excellent, because this boat is very much, it is an everything boat.
Right.
I mean, you can use this boat from, fishing, which is very well appointed for, with its layout being a dual console. It's got a mezzanine seat that is a great place to sit and watch your lines as you're trolling. You might be out dolphin fishing, marlin fishing,
that seat
whatever
is
it may be.
aft facing, and it's undercover. So
one of the refinements, I believe, was there's a little air conditioning that blows on the back of your neck, on the back of the seat back.
Yeah,
which is really nice. I mean, knowing Florida, it's hot, especially starting this time of year throughout the remainder of summer. It is very hot.
Yeah.
And to get a little air conditioning while you're watching your lines is not bad. So, and then moving through back to the transom, Grady-White has a really interesting fold-up transom seat that they incorporated with this model as well. And then part of the transom too is the 2 live wells, and then a big freezer chest,
right,
which is awesome. Right.
Yeah.
And much more storage in the deck itself.
Well, and not just that. So I feel like we're talking a lot about the
aft section,
but like
right?
the bow,
if you want to move forward.
Yeah, the bow has a ton of space. They made it very comfortable at the bow. So if you're going on a cruise as opposed to fishing, or if you're going out, to a sandbar or something, and you just want to lay out and sit out and enjoy the weather, like, it's a very comfortable bow section.
Yes. So the bow seating is very nice. You've got 2 teak tables in the bow seating area. They both lower down so you can put in a filler cushion and really make it more almost into like 2 separate sun pads.
Yeah.
To really stretch out and worship the sun and enjoy it. It's very nice. They've got some handrails up there that make it a lot of, if you're encountering some rough seas and
You said worship the sun.
Worship the sun. Yeah. I mean, that's
That was just, you said it, and I was like, I like that phrase. That's fun.
You've never heard worshiping the sun
No,
before?
I
When
mean,
you're
I
out
have. Don't get me wrong.
Suntanning, you're just laying there staring
Yeah,
at the
but-
sun. You're worshiping the sun.
I know. It was a fun little phrase.
I've used it a million times. It's true.
So with this dual console, they also have 2 cabins,
Correct.
right? They have the main cabin and they have a guest cabin.
Well, okay. So let's refine that a little bit. So to port side is your main cabin, right? And that's got
Which would be the helm side.
right.
As well.
It's got some L-shaped seating there, but as well as moving aft in that, it's got a double bed. So you can actually sleep 4 in this cabin on the port side, and then starboard side is the head, and it's a combined shower head, but it's very, very spacious. So if you're a big guy like me with a belly, there's plenty of space in there. And also, what you don't notice first look on this boat is that the pass-through that's in between the 2 consoles, to make more room in the port side cabin, they've actually pushed it a little starboard side. So you get more room port side in that cabin than you do in the head, which is starboard side. Very, very subtle to notice it, but it makes a big difference. A couple of inches matter on a boat this size.
No, yeah, it really does make a big difference.
Absolutely.
And then the AirView, the AV2 AirView hardtop, right?
Right.
So I thought that was a really unique feature. It has everything built-in electrical, sunroof with shades. It's like when you look at it, it's really about enjoying the experience out on the water, no matter where you are on the vessel.
Well, and no matter what you're doing with the vessel too, right?
Exactly.
Whether you're out cruising with the family, whether you're taking this over to the Bahamas to enjoy some cruising in the islands and go visiting some sandbars, or if you're doing some fishing, it's got everything that you need. It fits every aspect of the boating lifestyle. Again, very well-rounded, versatile boat. There's no doubt about it. It's very well appointed. Let's talk about the helm station for a second. Helm station is really, really nice on this. It's all black. I like the all black because when you have displays like we do with the dual displays, it's very easy to see them when it's against black. Also, it's got minimum manual switches, and on their displays, they have a lot more electronic switches. I like that clean look. To me, I've always preferenced the cleaner, the better. Less buttons. You see a lot of boats that have a jillion buttons and switches, and not for me.
Right. I'm not flying a plane, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
But
so, it's really nice. It's cleaned up very well. And then to the port side too, you have a little seating area that can be a dinette, or part of the table will electronically lower, and you put in another filler cushion, and it becomes a U-shaped settee. So very nice, very well thought out. Just a boat in general. It shows that they went back and took a second look at this boat,
right,
and did some redesigning and really paid attention to every last little fine detail of this boat, and it shows. And
that's, I would say, Grady-White does that already in its process. They look at every detail. They think about, the user experience every single time. So it's just with that little extra time, it's like if you've ever done any kind of art, if you have a deadline, yeah, you can get something great done. But if you have essentially all the time in the world.
Is that a great Grady-White boat?
That's cute. I like that. That's yeah,
but
no, with all the time in the world, you're able to do
Grady-White boat. Absolutely, they did a phenomenal job.
Much more. It's just
thumbs up from me.
Absolutely, it's impressive.
So let's move on now to something that I really enjoyed reading this article.
I did too.
I think it's an interesting aspect. All of us at Southern Boating love the Bahamian Islands, and there is a lot to see. The Bahamian Islands make up a little over 700 islands and keys.
It's like
this
over
stretch for
100,000 square miles.
100,000 square miles of islands and keys, and there's a lot to see, and you can't always see it. And many times, also, I'll let the cat out of the bag. When you boat over, a lot of times it's number one is you don't get to see as much. You don't get an aerial view.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most important things about going in and out of the Bahamas, and especially as you have a boat over there, is you're going to use a lot of air services,
Mm-hmm.
charter services, right? Whether it's to bring in your provisions, bring over your family,
it's not just that.
bring
like,
over parts,
I was gonna
much
say,
needed parts.
There's
in
going to
an
be times
emergency
where
situation.
that's exactly what you need the air service for.
So right. So air service in and over the Bahamas, new way to experience the Bahamas is what the article is about. Really kind of transitions with a particular seaplane. I invite you to read the article in the Bahamas issue in April. It's a great read.
So the way I looked at it was, say for example, we're in Florida and we go
Yes.
visit Chicago, right? So we take a plane to Chicago.
Who goes to Chicago?
It's just an example. Just run with me. So we go to Chicago. When we're in Chicago, there's tons of things we want to see. We want to see, Cubs Stadium. We want to see the Bean.
You
We want
do.
to see all the jazz, right? So
It's called Wrigley Field, by the way.
okay, cool. Wrigley Field. You're right. I'm a Dodgers fan, so I don't really. I couldn't really. Yeah, I grew up that way, man. Don't hate on me.
Okay.
That's right. All right. So you want to get around. So what do? You take an Uber. You rent a car, right? You
That's correct.
right. So the way I see this article, it's kind of like saying, even if you cruise out to the Bahamas, there might be things that you want to get to, but maybe you don't want to cruise there. So
Right.
you
Maybe
take
you
a
don't want to take
seaplane.
the time to
Right.
cruise down through the island chains, or maybe you want to explore before you
Before
go
you go,
explore.
And so you're able to get an aerial view of the
Correct.
islands.
Which is very interesting. So there's a lot of different ways to use this. We already covered flying and provisioning, flying in parts, flying in your family, because maybe, men go over first and then you fly the family in to meet you so they don't have to do the crossing with you. That's one aspect. But then exploring the islands before you go and boat through the islands or cruise through the islands is another different way. So you can see some of the channels, you can lay eyes on them. Also you can do some island hopping, and you can get to more islands in a single day than you can via cruising, which is another aspect.
Right.
And we're talking about seaplanes too.
Yeah.
One of the best experiences is being on a seaplane and landing on the water, because you can basically take it anywhere. So if you find a place on the map and you'd let a pilot know about it, many times you guys can maybe work it out to go see these places. So you can go into some uninhabited areas, right? Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's what I really enjoy, is some uninhabited areas to go explore.
Yeah. And this article really goes into, all the things that you can do.
Absolutely. Flying into Staniel Key, flying into Turtle, there's so many different areas that you can get to. James Bond's Grotto.
Yeah, the Thunderball Grotto. That's what I was going to point out. I was like, I read that and I was like, all right.
Yep.
All right. You made a fan of me.
Exactly right. So getting into a lot of areas that aren't accessed by normal commercial travel. If you charter a plane, a seaplane, you can get into these places. It's just really interesting and a different way to think about cruising and exploring the Bahamas.
Absolutely.
And we've got plenty of services that allow you to do that type of stuff. There's airlines from Tropic Air, there's private charters, there's Noble Air, there's Makers Air. There's a lot of services that you can speak to about doing stuff like this.
It's a pretty big part of the Bahamian economy.
It's
right?
a huge part of
providing these seaplane opportunities.
Absolutely.
All right.
With that many islands to cover,
yeah, you almost need it.
It's almost the inverse of the Alaskan way, right? Alaskans use it, the Bahamians use it.
Right.
It's just the inverse way.
All right, let's move forward.
Cold and bitter to beautiful and sunny.
Yeah. I've never been to Alaska either, though.
Neither have I.
Okay.
I ain't going. It's cold.
I want to go. I actually want to go, and I want to do the sled dog thing. Yeah. So
we'll work on that. It's another podcast.
How do we put that into the Southern Boating Magazine?
Pacific Northwest boating.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, you didn't think about that, huh?
Yeah, no, I didn't. No, actually, I really did not.
Lots of islands up there.
Yeah,
lots and lots of
that's
islands to
true.
go cruise. Lots of cruising, just different cruising.
Yeah, it's a different type of cruising though.
Cold, not
Yeah.
for me. Warm, sunny.
So
That's me.
Moving forward to the Sirena
fave.
78.
One of my favorite builders. I mean, we said it in the beginning. There is something about the design of Sirena that always strikes me and hits a chord with me.
I think the writer put it pretty well where he says the lines create an aesthetic appeal that don't fall into like a boxy category.
Right.
Right?
Great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I thought that's so true because when you look at it, it is the lines. It's a very strong design. Serena's design, I don't care what boat
it's
you pick.
unique.
It's very unique. It's very strong. It's very them, right?
It's very much identifiable as Sirena.
Exactly. And at the same time, it doesn't fall into any other category. They've kind of created their own category through their design. And I think that's a really
interesting way to put it. Yes. And I can agree with it.
It's a really impressive way of approaching the build, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So number one, I've always said they build a fine yacht. Now looking at the 78, which is actually 82 feet in length, and it's a wide beam. What was the beam on this? I want to say it was like 21 feet. It was really wide. I was really surprised.
Yeah, 21 feet 3 inches.
21 feet 3 inches. So it's got a lot of space. It's also got the plumb bow that creates more space up forward for living accommodations. You know, when you look at this boat, you can see that they pay attention to a lot of details that make it more livable, more comfortable, more luxurious, you know, but at the same time giving you a sense of calm at the same time because it's very light, airy, open. So the open concept on the main deck of this boat is excellent.
Yes.
I mean, you see from in the cockpit very forward to the transom with the transom seating, it's a clear line of sight.
And then not just that, but the windows, the amount of window space that is there, you can see out while you're seated, right?
So, and it's an interesting design too. The one thing that I noticed is the flow in which works on the main deck. So you walk in from the cockpit area and you see the salon, right? Beautiful salon. Very next, you have this large island, kitchen island. It's like an island that belongs in my home.
Right.
And then forward of that is the dining experience and area. And what I really liked about this is with their windows, they go low enough so when you're sitting at that dining room table, you can still see out.
Yeah.
Which for forward-facing windows is very nice.
Right.
Right? Because to me, I always like to see outside. It also brings outside in. But when you can't see out, that's when you start to feel cramped.
Right.
And this accomplishes that feeling of not making you feel
It feels
cramped,
open.
right?
It feels, yeah.
It comes in a couple. This does have a flybridge. Flybridge comes in a couple of different configurations.
There's 3 options.
So you can have completely open,
right,
semi-open,
right, and then
fully
enclosed.
Which to me,
and the
everybody's
open one
got the
is
preference,
right, and the open one is a hard top. It's a hard top.
You're correct.
Right.
So it's completely open to the elements. And if you opt for the open flybridge with the hard top, you'll get a helm station below as well on the main deck. Very nice, very well thought after, right? Because who wants to send their captain up into the elements? And that's his only place. That's the only helm station. Sorry, put your rain gear on.
Yeah.
You know, but no, you're not going to have that.
Didn't I read a full beam? Didn't they have a full beam master?
Full beam master, correct.
Where is that?
And you've been on this boat, I believe. You might not remember it, but this is, when I say this, you're going to remember. It has the his and hers heads.
Yeah, I remember. And then with the shower in the middle.
Separated by a shower in the middle, which is spacious too.
Right. When I read that, I was like, I've been on this boat. I know exactly
Back in October,
what they're describing.
You were on this boat.
Yeah.
at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show.
Sorry, yacht.
And we were impressed at it by then. It is a yacht.
It's a yacht.
It's
not
a
a
yacht.
boat. Yeah.
There's
A
correct.
big difference. Yeah, the whole layout was incredible with that master, with the full beam master, and then the his and her. Like, so you walk in, and the his and hers are at the far end of the master. And I remember walking into film, I was like, okay, I'll film one side, I'll film the other. And then I looked to my left, and there's a shower that connects to the his/hers, the other side. And I was like, oh, that's crafty.
It's nice. It's
it was
really
so
nice. And there's an option within that if you wanted a walk-in closet, you can have the his or her side, whatever you deem it,
Right.
be a walk-in closet, and then you have just the one side.
Yeah.
Which is neat. If you're gonna be living on this boat, maybe you do opt in for a walk-in.
Yeah,
but there's 4 staterooms in total.
4 staterooms, including the full beam owner's suite amidship.
Amidship, right. So there's also the forward VIP estate room, which is very well appointed as well, and an ensuite. And then there's 2 other estate rooms that are well appointed, one with an ensuite, and I believe, I can't remember whether it was starboard or port side, but opposing the other side is not an ensuite, but it's got a connecting head, which also gives access to any guest. So it's an interesting layout. It's very, very well accommodated. Beautiful lines on it. As always, just the way they're designed, the way that they look, the way that they're laid out, very, very accommodating. And true, this boat is of a size, or yacht is of a size, that it can be self-captained.
I was gonna say,
or you can have a crew.
That's exactly where my brain was right now.
And there are crew accommodations in this boat as well for 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's if you're a little on the ambitious side, it's owner operated, absolutely, but at the same time, it's fully functional, fully set up to accommodate the crew properly.
Exactly right. And Sirena is doing a great job. Most Turkish builders that you will find do not give the crew enough accommodations or an engine room enough accommodations. Sirena does a great job of trying to break that mold.
Yeah.
So the crew quarters are a little bit more spacious than what you normally find out of a boat that comes out of this area, as well as the engine room as well. It's got 6 feet of headroom, number one.
Yeah.
So you're not cowering always. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, and that can be a problem in some yachts. And there are a lot of people that are much taller than me. So nobody likes to be
crouched down and
while you're working, right? You might spend some extended hours in there.
That's true.
So it's always nice. I mean, again, great job.
Yeah.
Love it. Can't get enough of it.
We covered this vessel in the March issue.
Correct.
Right? So you can view it online if you didn't get it in print. But final thoughts on the 3 topics for today?
For me, I'm ready to go to the Bahamas. I'm ready to fly over. I'd like to actually do some island hopping on a seaplane. It gave me an idea. I think it would be a lot of fun. And then, the 2 boats are just excellent. I think Grady-White did the right thing by letting the engineers holding that boat back when we were uncertain with the pandemic, doing a little bit of redesign work for it because it turned out absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And then I've said enough about Sirena over our podcast.
Over the past couple episodes.
If you guys are watching, I really do enjoy your yachts. They're absolutely stunning. For me, my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot the Sirena 78 was actually the cover.
It's actually on the cover. It's beautiful.
March.
You can't miss it. One of my favorite covers, actually.
Yeah. No, I thought it was gorgeous cover.
Absolutely. Just the way that boat's lit up in the twilight.
Well, I think, all right. Well, as for me, final thoughts are definitely the Bahamas, cruising the Bahamas by seaplane. I was like, oh, that's a fun little perspective.
Yeah.
And these 2 vessels, I think, cater to different tastes.
Well, they're definitely 2 totally different vessels.
Right.
Used for different things.
Yeah, they cater to different tastes while at the same time excelling in exactly what they're meant to serve.
What their purpose is.
Exactly. Right. And so I'm just very impressed with it.
Absolutely. Both great builders.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm James Anderson.
I'm Ian Sneed.
And we will see you next time. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you can come back and be notified every time we're doing a new podcast.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to tell him to do that earlier.
Don't worry, I got you.
Thanks.
We'll see you next episode. Is it because you have girly hands?
I've always had very soft hands. People make a point to point out how soft my hands are. Well, we can't put that on the...
It can't be on the outtakes. I'm sorry. Ruin that one.
Look at us talking about how we can't talk about what we just said. That's not... We have to be polite. All right, ready?
Like how you figured that out about not even a full second after you said it. You're like, oh, wait, yeah, no.
Cool.
All right, let's go get some work.
Yeah.